GW coming to you live. Got a few things to talk about. First of all, I want everybody to know that the reason I didn't do a couple videos is because I had a lot of personal stuff going on. My mother-in-law has Parkinson's disease, and it's not looking too good. So I took some time off to help around with that. Also to get some things done around the house. But all the time I was doing that, guys, I was thinking about you guys, and I know that I don't have to come on here every day, or every weekend rather, and tell you guys what I'm doing. But for the people who subscribe to me, I also want to let them know that I did not forget about them, and that I really, was thinking of them the whole time. So with that being said, a few things I got to talk about real quick, and then we're going to jump into movie reviews. First thing is, a lot of new people have been checking out my content here, and I want to give a big shout out to Emily Shatire, who was pretty awesome, and she really spoke highly. I work around her, and you guys, and she was pretty cool. She really appreciated my introduction to horror or movies in general, if you could put it like that. So there's that. Second thing, and I want to emphasize this, is that, a lot of new horror stuff is coming out, guys. And if you guys haven't checked on it, you guys should check out the Evil Dead video game coming for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and every other console down the line. You guys should check it out. It's a 4 versus 1 multiplayer game, and it really looks awesome, and I am excited to do it. Speaking of Evil Dead, it was just recently announced that Evil Dead 4, that's right, is going to be in production. It's going to be shown on HBO Max sometimes later this year. Now, if you guys do not know the history between of Evil Dead 4, can't even talk this morning. My coffee is just layering. I haven't had my coffee, so sorry. Evil Dead 4 was talked about a long time ago, right? I think right after Army of Darkness, I think it was talked about. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know who was going to be on board, but Bruce Campbell always said he was going to be on board. Ted Raimi also said he was going to be on board, but his story never materialized. That's why, if you guys go back to that era, you will see that there is a few Evil Dead video games there. Regeneration, and I think there was another one, I can't remember. A Fistful of Boomstick, that was the other two. They were supposed to serve as, you guessed it, Evil Dead 4. Well, finally, we are getting a really amazing, what I hope to be amazing movie in Evil Dead 4. It deals with two sisters, and apparently things go pretty wrong. Details are pretty much under wraps, but Bruce Campbell has to step into the shoes of Ash Williams again and save the day. So definitely, if you're an Evil Dead fan, or you want to see the conclusion of the series, definitely keep an eye on this one. Speaking of news, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is stepping in, getting more production as it's going along. Now, there was a rumor a couple of days ago that the film had been leaked. It was already completed and it was leaked. I'm here to tell you that nothing really came out of that. If it did, you would know about it. So definitely check it out. So, with that being said, there's other horror news too. I heard about half a month ago that Elvira might be returning. So you might want to check that out too. I haven't heard anything. It was just a pop-up, thing, and then died. I know that was a lot, right? The other thing is that, I was sitting around watching movies, and I know Hollywood likes to remake everything, but, one film franchise they haven't even touched was Hellraiser. And it made me think, if you could remake Hellraiser, it might be pretty awesome. So that's just a thought for any, producers or whatever out there. I don't know who's tangled up in the rights of that. Speaking of directors, Rob Zombie recently announced that he was going to direct the Munsters TV movie. Not for TV, but the Munsters that were on TV, He was going to do that as his next movie. And I thought, you know what? If done right, that thing could be pretty good. You know, that's another little snippet in the horror news department. So definitely keep your ear to this, because we all know Rob is the man. Rob turns out a lot of cool stuff. So it'd be interesting to see his take on the Munsters. Speaking of movies, now we're going to dive into some reviews. Now, mind you, a couple of these I watched a long time ago, right before or right after I was not on here for a while. So my thought process probably might not be the best. However, I will give you the lowdown on 3 of the craziest, goofiest movies you will ever see. And trust me, I've been watching a lot of stuff, guys, because this pandemic, we're still staying home. And I do know we're getting back to normal, you know. And I can tell you how we're getting back to normal, because last Saturday was my wife's birthday. And I tried taking her out to dinner at least 7 different places. And all 7 different places were packed to the gills, or a 2 to 3 hour wait. So that's a good thing. And hopefully we can trickle back in, you know, and we don't have to wear those stupid masks anymore. And, you know, we can just get on with our lives and, you know, forget about this, because this thing has really affected everything. If you look back at the impact that this thing has had, it's frightening. It really is. Speaking of frightening, I hope you guys are watching The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, because that thing is off the chain. He's been showing all kinds of cool stuff, which last night, or Friday night, he showed a very cool Clint Howard movie called Evilspeak. And if you haven't seen that, jump on Shudder, check it out. I remember trying to get a copy from Amazon, trying to buy it, but it's out of print. It's been out of print for a long time, but it's definitely a cool movie about a military academy student who is bullied and basically takes revenge on everybody when he finds a book that contains demon incantations. It's pretty awesome. And it's one of the rare movies that you probably blink and missed. So definitely check that out. So without further ado, we're going to go from insane, craziest to pretty cool and a decent film. So the first film I'm going to review for you guys is a film called Rock and Roll Nightmare. Rock and Roll Nightmare is something of an enigma in the horror world. It was a Canadian film, and it was directed and stars a cat named John Michael Thor. Now, you would think when I tell you the premise of the story that it was going to be pretty cool, but it's actually, like I said, a very odd, weird little film, and the ending of it will blow your mind. And you won't even see the ending coming. Even if I told you what the ending would be, you would go, yeah, Greg, sure. But basically, John Michael Thor is the head of a band. And he's the head of a band, lead singer, dressed up like Vince Neil. And they go to a secluded farmhouse to record their new album. Well, right off the bat, in the beginning of this movie, you can tell this is a very cheesy production. There is a skeleton that comes out of an oven, guys. And it's done pretty cool. It's that goofy monster makeup, you know, monster crap from the 80s. And it's done pretty neat. It sets the tone. However, the rest of the film does not live up to the hype. There's only a few segments that really stand out in this film. And like I said, one of them being the crazy ending. But anyway, they go try to record this, and all of a sudden, you know, one by one, the band gets picked off. Not in gruesome fashion either. It's that rubber cheesy, that's the cover of the thing, by the way. Rubber cheesy monster movie. There's also a very strong criticism in here that some of these creatures look like, I'm just going to say, phallic-shaped rubber monsters. And they do. They pop up from time to time. But there is a character on here that deserves more credit than this film gives them, and it's called the Wolf Kid. And if you're familiar with it, check it out. It's a spirit of a kid who had died there, I guess, and he turns into a wolf. Very cool makeup. Very frightening. It reminds you of early Howling, but it's that, you know, rubber where it doesn't move type thing. But John Michael Thor, you can tell he's all over this film because Almost every scene he's in, he's either nude or halfway naked for the ladies. There's a shower scene that goes on way too long, in my opinion. However, it is entertaining because it is an oddity. Now, I got the DVD of it. It was lost out of print for a long time. You can buy the print. You can buy the copy on Amazon. The only reason I did is because it was an oddity, and I had a really crappy VHS copy of it. It was on Showtime or Cinemax or HBO, one of those. And I remember it as a kid, and I thought it was great. You know, heavy metal dudes, fighting, monsters. And when you're 5 years old, things do not look as bad as what they do whenever you're 20. You go back to a movie and you go, what the crap? To give you an idea of how bad or how low budget this was, Satan in this picture is a rubber 7-foot tall figure that you would hang outside your house on Halloween. So the ending of the movie, I'm not going to ruin it, but let's just say it gets a little bit biblical up in there. But anyway, definitely check it out as an oddity, as a staple of the 80s, and as probably one of the weirdest, craziest horror films you will ever see. If you can call it a horror film, yeah, you guess you could. Now we're going to turn our attention to one film that I've had for a long time, and I never watched it. And it's available on Amazon Prime, so if you guys don't want to spend the money to get the Blu-ray, definitely go to Amazon Prime. Now, Shout Factory is my current favorite movie catalog service, because any movie from the 80s, whether it's horror or suspense, Shout Factory's got you covered, guys. So between that, Arrow Video, and Scream Factory, you're pretty much good. This is a Scream Factory DVD. I'm sorry. And it's called Dead Time Stories. And this film is awesome except for the third and final story. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, this movie screams 80s, okay? Because if you look at the costumes, the clothes, even the actor. You know who one of the main actors in this film, guys, is? If you guys ever watch Family Ties, you guys remember Nick, right? He dated Mallory. He was the one that said, hey, you guys know him. And that was Scott Valentine. Scott Valentine actually headlines the first story of this. The first story that he's in, he plays a orphan who is brought up by two witches who want to bring their dead sister back to life. And again, this is not a mainstream movie. This is campy at its best. And the first story is done pretty good, but it has a wraparound story where a kid thinks he's going to bed, and he goes to bed and he sees a monster. Dad comes in, tells him all these tales. There's 3 of them. Like I said, avoid the third one. It sucks. And it's just done for more or less comedy's sake. And if you watch the Blu-ray, what I didn't know was that most of the material taken out of this film for deleted scenes was of the third story, which is a take on Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But anyway, the Scott Valentine story is probably the strongest entry, and it's not great by any means. However, it's not the worst thing you have ever seen. The second story is a take on Little Red Riding Hood, which is interesting. And it really, I think, is the strongest installment of this film. The wolf makeup and the wolf costumes are done pretty awesome, and it looks like something out of an actual werewolf movie. I mean, the makeup in that is that good. The third story, like I said, revolves Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where she ends up killing a ton of people. She moves into a empty house. She's squatting. 3 criminals from the insane asylum come up, and they're going to rob a bank. And it didn't have the essence of the first 2 stories. However, if you're looking for some eye candy, this is the story where you find it, whereas the insane escapees find Goldilocks in the shower and you get a free TNA scene. So that's basically, it's an interesting movie minus the third story, guys. So like I said, Amazon Prime, check it out for free. And it is an oddity, and this bad boy was made early 80s. Again, 85. So you can see that, you know, it's definitely an interesting take, and you also see why they don't make these films anymore. Now, the third one, and one of my favorite films, is from 1989, and it's actually a Sean Cunningham production that not many people know about. It's called Deep Star 6. And it stars, again, from the 80s, early 90s. If you guys ever watched My Two Dads, then you guys know Greg Evigan. Greg Evigan was one of the main co-stars of My Two Dads. I think his name was Joe on the show. I don't know. My wife watches that. She'll be able to tell you guys. But very cool movie. And the thing with this is it has a slow start, and it's not corny or cheesy, but it does have a giant monster in it, a giant crustacean monster that keeps picking people off. It also has the very late Miguel Ferrer in it, who is awesome in this movie. You know, for the time he's given screen time. Miguel Ferrer, you know, was famous for not only this film, but playing Bob Morton in the film RoboCop, playing a sadistic killer in a Tales from the Crypt episode called The Thing from the Grave, countless other roles, but Miguel Ferrer is always awesome in everything he does. So, if you guys don't know his work, this is probably a pretty good place to start, as this this film's about the Deep Star 6, and they're actually going to put a naval base on the floor of the ocean where they can, you know, shoot missiles and whatnot. However, something goes pretty wrong. They inadvertently unleash a giant monster that then starts hunting the crew. And there's some good gore effects in here, guys. There really is. You get to see a guy ripped in half. Miguel Ferrer's character actually decompresses himself by panicking and shooting out of there. The ending is pretty awesome and pretty intense. What I like about this film is that it uses the entire underwater set, and it uses rooms to the fullest advantage. In fact, toward the end of this film, the creature is attacking people in a room no smaller than probably a hotel shower. And it's pretty neat. Again, this film has been bypassed, I think, in my opinion. But there is an awesome stuff. The creature, what I like about it is it's not shown, it's not overly shown. You know, it's not, you know, put out there so you know what it is. You see glimpses and pieces of it. And even the way it attacks, I mean, it wipes out like probably 3 or 4 guys in pretty awesome fashion. Now, Greg Evigan, I haven't seen him on a mainstream movie since this, but he was pretty awesome as the hero in this film. And he played opposite either Nancy Everhard or Terrine Black. Now, to give you an idea of how old this movie really is, I just saw her name. Nia Peoples. Nia Peoples was big in the 80s and 90s. And I don't know what happened to her, but she's in there for half a minute. But definitely, if you get the means, this is a cool movie. Even if you missed it, it will satisfy your A, monster craving. B, you know, it's a very well done horror film. And C, anything from Sean Cunningham seems to be pretty awesome right now. So those are my 3 recommendations for different reasons. Rock and Roll Nightmare, I know you guys are going to watch and say that's pretty cheesy. But there is something about that film that you could watch maybe once or twice a year. Dead Time Stories, like I said, it's cool to see Scott Valentine in a film. And young Scott Valentine. So I don't know if he did this before Family Ties. Wikipedia wasn't really sure. But Deep Star 6, guys, is the one for you. I'm telling you guys, as a horror fan, Deep Star 6. So let me move to one other topic, and I don't want to be too long with it. I just want to address something. You know, earlier last summer, we had some friends that don't talk to us anymore. And they don't even want to acknowledge that me and my wife are alive. Well, that's fine. You know, one's got a successful career now as a banker. She thinks she's too good for everybody. The other one, I think he's just pulled in the wrong direction. And I see him pop up on PlayStation quite a lot. And I say, hey, you know, you want to play this, that, and the other thing. Never wrote back to me. So my point is, you know, I don't know why people got to be like that. And I don't really care. But if you don't want to hang around me or you don't want to be our friends, the only point I'm trying to tell you guys is then why bother even starting a friendship if it's going to turn around like this? And we didn't do anything. Me and my wife are awesome people. We treated these people like gold. We've taken them out to dinner. We've tried keeping in touch with them. And I'm not going to name names. But it's just like, you know, it's ignorant when you don't show that kind of respect and that kind of thing back. So, and I don't know what their deal is. You know, maybe they think they're too good for everybody. I don't know. And I'm not going to go throw stones about things. But my point is I'm always down for people, you know, whatever, however, whenever. You know, I hold doors for little old ladies. You guys need something. You know, somebody calls me, says, hey, Greg, you know, can I borrow this? Whatever. Yeah, Greg's on top of it because Greg is a good friend. But I guess maybe there's some people in this world that just aren't good friends. I don't know. That was just my final take on it. So you can take that for what it's worth. But I am sorry that I was gone for a couple of weeks. And I hope to get back on track because I missed you guys. I missed the fans. I miss talking about movies, and I miss general, you know, the general feeling of coming down here and, you know, taking a break from the world. So glad to be back. I hope you guys check out Deep Star 6, Dead Time Stories, and Rock and Roll Nightmare. I hope you guys check those out. And I really hope you guys stay dry because it's raining outside. GW. I'll see you next week.